Good morning. I'm Carlton Sharp, pastor of Faith Christian Center Church, right here in Beaumont, Texas. And we're here on what's happening in our neighborhood. And today my special guest is Miss Jean Upfold. Welcome, Jean.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good.
Hey, we're here to talk about something that many people don't want to talk about when it comes down to our existence. We're here to talk about an increase of this epidemic that we're seeing now called human trafficking.
Yeah.
Now, you know about this subject matter personally because something happened to you.
Yes, I do. I was taken at the age of 13 and sold into human trafficking.
Wow. So at 13 years old, someone sold you into human trafficking.
Yes. I ran away from home, and this person watched me and gained my trust. And when he was ready to leave, he told me he was leaving and he couldn't take me with him, and would I like to grow up on his ranch and be his daughter. And that was his way of getting me on the plane and selling me into the hands he was sending me to.
Wow. But now, how did it start? You said that you ran away from home.
I ran away. At the age of 12, I was raped and I became pregnant. And after having the child and the child being taken away, I went home, and it was an unhappy homecoming. My brothers and sisters didn't want me there, and my mother cried all the time. So I left. I wanted them to be happy.
So did you feel isolated in that situation? I mean, because you were pregnant because of the product of a rape. And then once you had the baby, did your family isolate you, or did you isolate yourself?
It was sort of both. You know, the kids in the neighborhood knew I was pregnant. They didn't know I was raped. And my mother cried a lot. She didn't know what to do for me. So it was a pretty unhappy homecoming.
So after you had the baby, you decided to run.
Yes. And that's usually where traffickers get their children. There's children that run. There's no protection for them. They wait at bus stations. They walk around the beaches. And you can always tell a child that's running. There's a scared look in their face.
Okay.
They're hungry. They're always wearing the same clothes. And they're either sleeping on the beach or sleeping in a doorstop somewhere. So
now, how long were you out on the street on your own before somebody made contact with you?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Usually nowadays it's only about 48 hours.
Wow. Okay, so then I'm assuming that someone approached you.
Yes. I was sitting on the beach. I was crying. I was hungry. And I didn't quite know what to do. And he made his move. And he walked up and he asked me if I was hungry. I didn't say anything to him. But he left and he came back about 15 minutes later with a bucket of chicken.
Wow.
And he sat down and that opened the door. I ate and I cried and I told him my miserable life.
Mm-hmm.
And he took me in. He got me a motel room. He never touched me and he never stayed with me. And he did that for 2 weeks. And then one morning he said, I have to leave on business. And I can't take you with me. Would you like to live on my ranch? And I'll raise you as my daughter.
So he built your trust.
Yes.
For 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. And I got on that plane willingly. But nowadays, they don't go that far. They build your trust over the internet, on the phone. Some people might even be half an hour.
Wow.
It depends on the child. It depends on how badly you want to get out.
So if some young person was watching today, whose home condition is not, what they desire, what would you tell them?
I tell them to talk about it with their parents. If it's that undesirable, go to someone in your school. Go to someone who you trust. If it's not someone at school, someone in your neighborhood, an adult, someone who you have trust and faith in. Because a lot of times there are things going on at home that you can't get away from. I was an abused child, but there are times when there's not really much going on. A child doesn't feel like they're getting what they need. They're not being abused, they're not being hurt, but they feel they're not being heard.
That's good.
There was, in some families, there's not a whole lot of love.
Now, how long were you trafficked, and when did you get out?
I was sent to a ranch in California where there were only children there. I was there for 2 years before I escaped.
Before you escaped?
It was a ranch in the middle of the desert. There was a surgeon kept there on the grounds in case we got hurt really bad so we could be sent back to work.
Now, when you say work, I mean, just being naive, I'm assuming that this is not flipping burgers.
No, there were men and women that came there that paid, and they could do anything that they absolutely wanted to do to us.
Wow.
It was pretty horrifying. I myself I was a very hard person to break. They used drugs and starvation to control us. And when you're hard to break, they really do a lot of things to break you down. But they can get to you. They can get to you. I became like an animal. I withdrew into myself. And some people can't take it. Some people can't. I made it out of there only by the grace of God.
Yeah.
And only because I was so stubborn. Most of the kids that were in that place with me were buried in unmarked graves in the desert. And that's why I continue to do what I do, to give them a voice. And my mother, the whole time I was gone, thought I was dead.
Wow.
And I can't begin to imagine what she went through. But to stop just one child from going what I went through, or one parent.
Yeah.
It's, God gave us a beautiful world to live in. But because we live in the flesh, we have a lot of sick people in this world. And this has been going on since the beginning of time. It's time for it to stop.
Now, you say you escaped. How did you get out?
We, every 6 weeks, there were 6 men there, and every 6 weeks, 5 of the men would leave to replenish the ranch. The one that stayed was the one we called the enforcer. He did everything, but he liked drugs and he liked to drink. And sometimes the room that I was kept in was forgotten to be locked. And this time he made the mistake of not locking it. And I escaped with a girl that was in the room with me. And the whole time we were kept there, we were only kept in underwear. And I saw where clothes were kept. I kept my eyes on most of everything there. So we took men's clothes. I found some money and some drugs, and we took off outside. And she went for the road, and I told her, I said, no, we can't take the road.
Yeah.
So we spent 2 days out in the desert, and a family, a car pulled up, a man and woman and 3 kids, and you could tell that there was something wrong with us. I was 16, 5'9", and I weighed 97 pounds.
Wow.
My hair was down to my knees, but it was very
Matted.
straggly,
Yeah.
very dull. No, it wasn't matted. They took very good care of us, but you could tell that we were addicted to drugs and that we weren't taken care of very well. And they wanted to take us to the police. Well, they had to stop for gas.
Mm.
And we were out of there. We were gone. We trusted no one. The place where we were, the saddest thing about it is it was run by police officers.
Wow.
And officials. You know, there are bad people in every
Yeah.
walk of life. And it took me a lifetime to realize that not every police officer or official was bad.
Mm.
When you have things like that happen to you young, you grow up hard and cold. And
Yeah.
I was a very hard and cold person before I found the Lord.
So what's your life journey now, Jean?
My life journey now, I went through, after I got out, I went through a lot of things. I was drugs, in and out of jail. I straightened my life out and I worked, but I was always in prison up here.
Mm. Out in the world, but in prison
Yeah.
in the mind.
When I was 56 years old, I found the Lord.
Wow.
And I always wanted to do something about human trafficking. And when I found the Lord, He started to open all those doors and give me a voice. And it took 3 years for me to give my testimony. No one had ever known that I'd been in human trafficking. They knew that I had been abused, but they'd never known. And when I sat, because I'm a leader in Celebrate Recovery, when I sat down to give my testimony, the Lord told me, He said, you got to put it all down there.
Wow.
And I figured, I remember walking up the steps that night. I said, well, this will probably be the last time I ever walk up these steps, because they'll all turn their back on me. But when I walked off that stage, I was free. I was free, and that opened the doors to everything. Channel 6 called me, and I did my interview on TV, and I started my crusade because I realized that God put that mantle on me when I was a child. And now I go out and I speak on human trafficking. Schools, churches, anywhere. You know, parents don't know what to look for.
Right, right.
When it comes to their child being taken, you know, computers and phones nowadays. Johnny Matlock, who was just sent to prison, got his girls through the computer. You know, young kids, they get on the computers and I'm depressed, I'm lonely, and somebody's watching that. Somebody knows you're depressed and you're lonely. You know, it might be a 15-year-old boy or a 60-year-old man, but they're going to come across on the computer as Cindy, who saw your depression.
And now, Jean, since social media is so prevalent in our society, you know, and everybody putting all their information out online, you know, so what you're saying is the predators are watching that.
Yeah. Even people, you have people that put pictures of their kids all over
Yeah.
Facebook. You know, it's wonderful to have pictures of your kids, but now everybody else has got them too. A lot of parents will have their children put on Facebook or on the computer. I want to know everywhere you're going. That predator knows everywhere you're going.